Hey folks, how's it going? So the first thing I did was take some XPS foam I had lying around and cut out the structure that would form the clock. The reason that I used XPS foam for this project was because, well, mostly because I just had it lying around anyway, but also because the clock mechanism that I used to rotate the pieces was pretty cheap, and I wanted to make sure that the clock wasn't too heavy so that the timekeeping would be accurate. I decided to go with more of an old school feel of the 12-sided figure rather than the circular shape of the remakes. Naturally, I messed up my measurements first, so I had to redraw all that. But with the shape now properly drawn out, I went to cutting out the foam. Cutting foam is pretty simple with a nice sharp blade. Just take your time and give it enough cuts as it needs until you have the shape you want. From the same piece that we just cut out, I cut out a smaller 12-sided figure in the center so that I could make both the minute ring on the outside and the hour ring on the inside from it. In order to make sure that the inner hour ring rotates properly, we have to trim down the 12-sided shape just a little bit, or else it would get caught on the sides. After that, I had to cut out the little day-night disc that resides in the hourglass. This is just something that flips back and forth between day and night. The clock mechanism that I ordered came with an hour hand, so the easiest way for me to make the hour disc rotate was just to set the hour hand into the disc I just created. So I used these leftover wood carving tools that I've got and cut out the shape that matches the hour hand. Once we have the shape all set, all we have to do is glue that hour hand in and make sure it's secure enough so that when torque is applied, it doesn't come free. Next, I went about on working on the day-night disc. So I took a pair of old chopsticks to use as the dowel that theoretically it would rotate on. And with all that done, I went about and just covered everything with some wood veneer. Once we got all the wood veneer on, I went about and filled all the gaps with some wood filler. And then I sanded it to make sure everything was nice and smooth. To attach the minute ring on the outside, I cut 2 small holes on the sides and glued a rod that stretches from one side to the other. To that rod then, I glued just the attachment part of the minute hand that came with the clock mechanism. I wanted a bit more strength to the rod itself, so I attached some leftover tape and began to try and sketch the design of the clock. This part took me the longest out of anything. I don't really even want to admit how long I spent trying to sketch the patterns until I got something that I was happy with, but ultimately, it worked out, I think. To darken the wood grains a bit, I just mixed some brown paint with some water, essentially made a wash, and covered everything with that. And with the wood appropriately darkened now, I went through and started painting over the sketch that I had made before. For these colors, I just had an image of the clock and tried to mix the paints I had to match as close as I could. Once everything was colored in, I gave it all a quick black outline, and then repeated the entire process for the minute hand and the day-night disc. With that done, I wanted to make everything look a little darker and more grimy, so I threw on a quick black wash over everything to try to age everything a bit. And with all the pieces now done, all that was left was to assemble it all together. So I glued in the day-night disc, put all the pieces together on the clock mechanism I had. And called it done.